Isao Tomita, often billed just as Tomita, was a Japanese composer and electronic music pioneer. He actually spent quite a lot of his career composing music for film and television and adverts for Japan, but he's better known in the West for his electronic music albums. He started in the 70s with switched on rock and roll, then moved into electronic slash synth interpretations of classical music and produced a steady output of albums until his death in 2016. Hi, my name is Dan, and this is a review of the album The Planet by Tomita. And it was his fifth album released in 1976. So this is one of the reviews that under the category Hidden Gem. Let me try and explain that. Most of my channel is I'm working my way through a list of the 3,000 greatest albums of all time, according to a list at Acclaimed Music, which is an amalgamated critics list. So a bit like Metacritic, but Metacritic only started at a certain point. So I wanted to go further back. It's a great list. I would not always agree with their placement of things, but everybody would have their own opinion on that. And I set myself a challenge, which was to review my way through all 3,000. And I started at the bottom and I'm working my way upwards. And I'm a bit over a third of the way through. Will I make it? We'll see. Anyway, occasionally, about 1 in 10 reviews, I step off the list for some other reason and do other reviews. It's not because I'm bored of the list, it's because I feel like doing this and it's my channel. I can do what I like. So, no. Yeah, so one of the reasons I do it is to review albums that I love, but I think people generally they're not very well known albums at all. And so that category is the category I call Hidden Gems, and this is one of those. Right. So I've been a fan of Tomita's since I was in my mid-teens. I discovered him probably not that long since this album came out, actually. Um, Maybe 4 years or so. And so at the time, I had this kind of love-hate relationship with synths. I was always fascinated by the technology, but there were times when I kind of looked down at music with synths in it. And I confess that this was somewhat emphasized or made worse by the fact that I was a big Queen fan at the time. And Queen very proudly in their notes on their album cover notes would say no synths. So this was obviously before Hot Space when they embraced synths in a big way. But yeah, I was with them. I was, thought that the idea of using synths was not great, and I think I probably regarded some synth pop as being quite banal. So I hadn't discovered other synth music. So the first one that I discovered that I thought, actually, this is really good was Tomita. I don't think this was the first album that I got of his, but I've had several of his. I've had a copy of this for many, many years, and I've listened to it quite a few times. He totally changed my mind about synths. Now, I didn't know about Wendy Carlos. In fact, I didn't really know about Wendy Carlos until sometime within the last year when I reviewed her Switched on Bach album. But I now know, because I've done reading, that Tomita took inspiration from, well, Wendy Carlos was a little bit earlier, but did a synth rendition of Bach stuff, which is regarded as being one of the first really serious synth albums. And so his first album that he did, which I've never heard actually, is Switched on Rock and Roll, which was a synth versions of rock songs. But then he went to the kind of Wendy Carlos way of doing things, in which he was doing synth renditions of classical music. And that's quite, to a large extent, what he did, or what I know of him. But then he moved the ideas on. So he started to use the capabilities of synths to create sounds and textures that would be impossible with an orchestra, to try and, it was his own vision pushing it further, but maybe he was trying to guess what the composer would have done if they'd had access to this kind of technology. So this particular album is a rendition of Holst's The Planets. And this version of Holst the Planets is controversial, or caused controversy because Gustav Holst's daughter, Imogen Holst, refused permission for this reinterpretation. It seemed to get released anyway, so I don't know the details of what happened there. So it was frowned on, at least by some people. So why have I picked this? It's a hidden gem. Well, I love it. Fairly obviously, it's got on. So the Planets, as an original piece of music, has quite an otherworldly feel to it, which is a good thing for something called the Planets to have, and it's based around the ideas of the representations of the different gods. So like Mars, the bringer of war, and taking those ideas, but also giving it this somewhat already spacey feel, I think, in the original. And Tomita pushes this quite a long way. So using things like atmospheric sounds and twittery, squawky conversations between machines, thunderous stuff, mysterious, enigmatic, sometimes joyful. Sometimes it's almost noise rather than music. Sometimes it's very musical. And he's obviously spent a lot of time working on the score and trying to work out how to represent the different sounds in a more synthy way. So he's not just trying to reproduce the sounds of particular instruments. He's trying deliberately to push it and get a different interpretation. My recommendation for listening to it is to put it on with headphones on in a dark room because it's very immersive. It's quite a rush, quite an experience. Considering the state of the art of synths in 1976, this album is an incredible achievement. I mean, all his stuff was. He spent a lot of time working on techniques and getting the sounds right. It's meticulously choreographed, and as I said, quite a head rush. Now, I love Jean-Michel Jarre, who's probably is a better known electronic artist from the time. This is the same year that Oxygen came out, and I love Oxygen. But this album sounds so much more advanced than Oxygen does, in my opinion, I would say. So I absolutely love it. I think it's an especially good for anybody who knows the original, the Holst, but it doesn't matter if you don't. It's just an amazing vision of sound, and this kind of very spacious feel to everything that there's got storytelling in it. It's got all sorts of other things going on. So I love it, but that's just my opinion. As always, I'd love to know if you've got opinions of this album. Please let me know, or of Tomita, or anything that's said in my review, or you want to talk about Wendy Carlos as well. I've got a review of Wendy Carlos's Switched On Bar. Go look up for that if you're interested. But that's it from me for now.